Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Let's sing together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Gauranitai ki jai, Jagannath Swami ki jai. Hare Krishna. So tonight we thought we'd talk about your favorite topic, committing offenses to devotees. Nothing we like to do more than that. Right? And then we'll also talk a little bit about Kadamba Swami, and we'll dedicate our last kirtan to him and meditate on him. Hare Krishna. You know the saying that the chain is only weak as its weakest link? Wow. Gauranga. Krona, the weak link in the chain is the microphone. If you had another microphone, it would be a big upgrade.
We have other microphones. I'm not sure where it's
What?
it's
Oh, you don't know where it is.
I'm not sure where it is.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pucharine Nirvisesa Sanyavani So this chapter is from the Antya-lila, it's chapter 8. It's entitled Ramacandra Puri Criticizes the Lord. And these chapters they act in one sense like warnings, like, this is what happens if you do this. You have these posters in your country, they show somebody smoking, and they look really dark and sick. And it's like, this is what happens when you smoke. So this is what happens when you offend. So this is a summary of this chapter. The following summary of the 8th chapter is given by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Pravaha Bhashya. Bhashya means commentary. This chapter describes the history of the Lord's dealings with Ramacandra Puri. Although Ramacandra Puri was one of the disciples of Madhavendra Puri, he was influenced by dry Mayavadis, and therefore he criticized Madhavendra Puri. Therefore Madhavendra Puri accused him of being an offender and rejected him. Because Ramacandra Puri had been rejected by his spiritual master, he became concerned only with finding faults in others and advising them according to dry Mayavadi philosophy. For this reason, he was not very respectful to the Vaishnavas, and later he became so fallen that he began criticizing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for his eating. Hearing his criticisms, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reduced his eating. But after Ramacandra Puri left Jagannath Puri, the Lord resumed his usual behavior. So this story it's instructive, but it's amusing because it shows the nature of an envious person. For those of you who know the story, you may remember that Lord Ramachandra, Ramacandra Puri, he would, like whatever he'd see, it was like a fault. You know, it was like no evidence. You know, like you're guilty without evidence. So one time he saw some ants in Lord Chaitanya's room. He's a sannyasi and he's eating sweets. That's why the ants are there. The immediate conclusion. Some fault with this so-called sannyasi. And maybe the funniest thing was that he would invite Mahaprabhu to eat, and he would say, "Eat more." It's like, you know what it's like when your guests they're like frowning because you haven't eaten a second or thirds. So you want to make them happy, and so Mahaprabhu wants to make him happy, and so he eats more, and then after he eats more, Ramacandra Puri says, "Just see, the sannyasi, he overeats." So it's showing the nature of envy, that it's beyond reason. It's just pure. It's pure hatred, and pure hatred, pure emotion of jealousy and envy. And there's no sense to it at all. It's just like uncontrollable. So in this chapter, if I remember correctly, Prabhupada said that Ramacandra Puri was situated in criticism. Like we say, situated in Brahman, or situated in transcendence, or situated in the bliss, and he was situated in offense, in criticism, which I understood to mean that he couldn't stop himself. That was his tattva. Like, what's the Sanskrit word for criticism?
Ninda?
Ninda? Yeah, I think so. Or that's Bengali. Either way, but it's like Ninda Tattva. The Ninda avatar. He was like incarnation. So it's like he couldn't help himself. And I always remember that, situated in criticism. It just struck me as a very interesting tattva. But in the years I've been a devotee, I would occasionally run into a devotee who could not stop criticizing, and I think, he's got the Ramachandra Shakti. He's got the Ramacandra Puri Shakti. He can't, like for the life of him, he can't help himself. He can't stop himself. It doesn't matter how many classes he goes to, or how often his guru says, "Stop criticizing." It's like, that's his tattva. That's who he is. He's the incarnation of criticism. So it was something like that, like Ramacandra Puri couldn't control himself. And that's interesting. Like how could you come to this point where you're situated in criticism? Well, what did Prabhupada say here? I think the key was given in this introduction. He was influenced by Mayavadis, and then he started criticizing his guru. He told his guru, actually, you should, Madhavendra Puri was leaving his body, and he was crying, in separation from Krishna, which of course is the highest state of Krishna consciousness. And this disciple says, you should not be crying, nasochiti nakamchiti, you should be meditating on Brahman. And Madhavendra Puri said, I have to see this person when I'm dying. telling me to meditate on Brahman when I'm trying to enter Krishna Lila in the mood of separation. Get out of here, I don't want to see you. So he rejected him. And so I was saying today in class, or maybe yesterday, that I noticed that when there's a propensity to criticize, it's hard to say where it's going to stop, like how high it will go. And that tendency, my fear is, and it's already happening now, that tendency to criticize, to find fault, is starting for some people to, not just their guru, but Prabhupada. And then it will go to Shastra, and so forth. So, this story, if you know what happened to Ramacandra Puri, he lost, because of his offense, it's a long story, but he lost everything completely. He was proud, he offended Nityananda Prabhu, and that was like the end of his career. Everything was lost. And what's so interesting about this story, this is a meditation on how karma works. Everyone in his neighborhood who was associated with him, they all suffered. It's like they got his karma just by him living in the neighborhood. Just the karma spread out. That's how serious it was. So sometimes I think, we as an organization, if we make offense, any of us make offense, maybe, I can't say for sure, but I think it's worth considering. We all may be responsible in taking on some of that karma, because we're part of it. Of course, we don't want to leave the organization, but at least perhaps it's an interest to try to purify the organization so offenses aren't made. So, as I said, the story was a warning. This is what happened to Ramacandra Puri, completely destroyed materially, spiritually, rejected by his guru. Materially, nothing, everything taken away. The whole village was destroyed, plundered. Hare Krishna. Now, there are many stories in our scripture about people who offend devotees. And it's all unhappy ending. It's all like, hello, did you notice what happened? Sobari Muni, it's like, you offend, and then what often happens is you just lose your intelligence. So Bharamuni's a yogi. We were just at his ashram. If you walk out of Krishna Balaram Mandir, you don't know this. If you walk out of Krishna Balaram Mandir, and you go to the Prikram path, instead of turning right on the Prikram path, you turn left. I always go left because there's nobody there. And I used to live in Vrindavan, and I would just get lost in the villages, just chant Japa. So if you go left, and go, you'll come to Cowherd village, and in the back of the Cowherd village is Sabari Muni's ashram. So what do we do? Have a good time?
It's up to you.
I say it on Facebook.
On Facebook?
I don't know how long any moment is. Kardama Maharaj is planning currently final stages, but how long is that's supposed to? We don't know.
So maybe just keep speaking and then...
Final stage could be 2 minutes to 20 hours.
Keep speaking and then have kids on.
We'll keep you posted, yeah. Anyway, Hare Krishna. I had a godbrother who
So can I just ask a question about Ramacandra Puri?
let me say something before I forget. Okay. I had a godbrother who passed away maybe 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. And I knew what he liked. He liked to help people become Krishna conscious. So I just feel like if I can help people become Krishna conscious, then I'm making him happy or doing what he wants. I think it's the same with the Ramacandra Swami. You just give people Krishna consciousness. He'll be happy. Yes.
So Ramacandra Puri in Krishna Lila was Jatila, Radharani's mother-in-law. So she was very critical then. So can we understand that jiva is just critical, or it was like just rasa for,
Well, maybe both. Could be critical in the transcendental sense, but you know, if you look at the Leelas, in a sense, if you get the backstory, it kind of ruins it all. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you know, some actor, you know, is like, you know, some avatar, something, and then you find out in real life he's raping women and beats his wife, and you know, it's like, oh, damn. You know, so it's like these Leelas are meant to instruct us. So these personalities play the parts of ordinary people, struggling devotees or non-devotees, as examples. So, you know, there's always a backstory that explains more, which is nice to know, but it seems to interrupt the lesson. You know what I mean? It's like, well, yeah, I was Jain Vijay. Yeah, well, Jagai Mata, you know, yeah, they became Krishna conscious in like 3 seconds because it was Jain Vijay. You know, it's like, what's the big deal? No, but there's a lesson there that that's possible for anyone to become Krishna conscious. So, purely speculation on my part, but I always felt like if someone had a certain tendency, Krishna would use that in the Leela. So, okay, you can be this person because that's your nature, or whatever. You like the joke? Okay, you're Madhu Manga. Or the living entity who has that nature becomes the coward boy, Madhu Manga. Of course, it's his eternal position, but you know, he can fit into the Leelas when you need some comedy. You know, it fits in well. So. But I think the lesson in the story is kind of obvious. So Sabari Murni, he had offended Garuda, and that pretty much destroyed his spiritual life. He lost his spiritual intelligence. He was doing severe tapasya, and then the desire to marry. How many wives had he married? Does anybody know? 50, 100? 50, yeah. So going from austerity for, I don't know how many years he did it, maybe thousands. Does anybody know? 30,000? Yeah. Well, long time of austerity to wanting to marry 50 women. It doesn't make any sense. And you know what stimulated it? Of course, it was ultimately the offense he made to Garuda. But he saw 2 fish making love. Now, like, who would get disturbed by 2 fish making love? It doesn't make sense. I mean, even the most addicted sex addict, rapist, I doubt that would really disturb him. You know, he's not enough to want to marry 50 women. So, you know, when you look at that, it's like, okay, this is what happens when one commits an offense. It's just there's a reaction, and it doesn't always have to make sense. But person loses their mind and so on. So it's just like the plug has been pulled on your spiritual life. And so all these stories show that, like the disastrous effects. We mentioned Gopal Chapala. He came down with leprosy. Hiranyakashipu had an unhappy ending. Well, maybe it was a happy ending, in a sense. But he lost everything. You can't offend a devotee and expect any good to come from it. And I think we can all recognize that perhaps we're not as cautious about this as we should be, and we take it lightly. So, there we go. You want to ask some questions about this? You had some questions? This whole conversation came up because Prabhupada said he had some questions. I said, well, we can talk tonight, and then before he asked, we could just at least discuss something from Shastra.
One question was, what about if we may have committed offences to the devotees that we didn't realise? The devotees, they knew that we committed some offence, but maybe they didn't say anything to us, and no one else said anything to us. But it was actually some offence.
Yeah. So every day, you ask the devotees, please forgive me for any offences I may have committed, knowingly or unknowingly. it doesn't seem fair. I didn't smile at you, you took offense, and now I have to take birth again. It doesn't seem fair. But we can beg every day, my dear devotees, please forgive me for any offenses. We make offenses. We offend people unknowingly. We offend people without offending them. Has that ever happened to you? You offend people by not doing something they expect you should do. So basically you did nothing and you offended them. Or obviously you can offend them by doing something, saying the wrong thing, in something inappropriate. I offended a devotee once. He was so offended. I was asking him what his name meant, because his name is Indra Pramad. So Indra is the king of heaven, and Pramad means madness. So I didn't, if Indra was referring to, I didn't know what it was. So I was like, oh, mad King Indra or something. I got so offended. But another devotee had to tell me. He was like, burning. And I was just, I thought, I was just being lighthearted and friendly. So you never know. So you can ask every day, my dear devotees, please forgive me for any offenses I may have committed, knowingly or not unknowingly. Your question was unknowingly. If you know, obviously you can go to somebody and ask them. They may not want to forgive you. All you can do is ask. I've discussed this point with other devotees because we heard that story about Rupa Goswami offending this handicapped person. And it doesn't seem fair because he wasn't offending him, but that person took offense. I've discussed it with some senior devotees, and their conclusion was, in general, you're probably not held responsible for offenses you didn't make, even, at least not in the same way as if you made them. Because if that's true, maybe we'd never get out of the material world, because we're probably offending people all the time. Right? Do you ever make a really nice comment on Facebook and somebody screams at you? And you have no idea that anybody could scream with that comment? I just read one today. Like, really, really nice thing a devotee said, and then someone got on his case. Because he represents a certain attitude. Not necessarily was it his attitude, but he represents a certain generation of devotees with a certain attitude. So he got smashed. So, Hare Krishna. Welcome to the material world. If I would have known it was like this, I never would have come here. I was just looking for something on my Google Drive, and I came across this video. And I was telling devotees, what is your 5-star review of the material world? And I said, your 5-star, not your 5-star, how many stars do you give to your trip to the material world? I said it should be 0, I'll never come back here. Because 5 stars says, yeah, I would definitely come back. It's a nice hotel. There should be no star review. That's my, don't come back here. So I always joke with devotees, when something bad happens, it's like, if I would have known this before I came here, if I would have known I had to work like every day, no way, I would never have come. I had this, like this skit, Krishna's talking to you saying, nah, I don't think you want to go there. Like, yeah, I do. No, I don't think. No, and Krishna's saying, well, let me tell you about it. All right. And then he tells you, this is the side, there's, were we with Krishna or not with Krishna? For this play, we were, because it works for this play. But that's a whole other topic. But for this play, Krishna's talking to us, and he said, and Krishna's saying, I don't think you should go there. And we say, why not? Well, let me explain. And so he starts explaining, we have to work, and we say, what's work? And he starts explaining, because we don't know what it is. And then he says, but you get a day off. And we say, oh, well, what are you doing your day off? Well, you go to this big field and you knock a ball in a hole. Or you knock a ball over a net. And you're trying to figure out, like, why would you do that? And you go, that's pleasure. And you're trying to figure out how that's pleasure. And Krishna's describing everything. And if he described it all, then you'd probably think, maybe I should change my mind. That's not working for me. It's an interesting way of looking at it, isn't it? Like if when you have these experiences in life, you can think, yeah, if I would have known this was going to happen, never would have come. like you go on a vacation and like something horrible happens, you get some serious disease. If I would have known, I never would have come to this country. Right? Hare Krishna. Oh yeah, so, yes?
I was wondering what we can do for that, because sometimes we see some devotees start criticizing and then we try to help them and we can see that it's not.
Well, how can we help the devotees?
Sometimes they don't understand and there's nothing we can do. What can we do for that person?
Oh, it's right there in the Nectar Devotion. If you happen to have a knife on you, you can cut out their tongue. That will stop them. Well, maybe a less violent way is just carry some duct tape with you and say, oh, excuse me. Oh, what a relief! I don't have to listen to you. I heard one devotee say that there one option is correct them, one option is go away, and the third option is cut out their tongue. I think that's for Kshatriyas. Don't try this at home. It might be troublesome. But cut out their tongue figuratively if you can stop them. Somewhere, my website or somewhere, I came up with lots and lots of reasons why I discovered why people criticize. It's an interesting list. I mean, you can just think, it's not just spiritual weakness, there's so many reasons. But one of the main reasons is people are unhappy and they're expressing a need that's unfulfilled. They're expressing a frustration. And I'll give you a story. This is a good story. It'll help us answer this question. So, maybe 10 years ago I was in Mayapur during Kirtan, and there was a godbrother next to me, and he formerly was a GBC sannyasi guru, but after he gave those positions, he wasn't really involved in ISKCON. So you just try to imagine, you were like one of the biggest leaders in ISKCON, and for the last like 30 years. Nobody even knows the new people don't even know who you are, you're not even around. And then you show up every once in a while. And so he's looking at the kirtan and he doesn't like the way it's going. And so he's criticizing the GBC in Mayapur because of this kirtan. So I was with another devotee, a younger devotee, and the younger devotee was very uneasy. But I was just listening to him. Because I could see within him, he was frustrated that he lost his leadership position. You know, he fell from his position, so he's not making excuses, but I could see that he was frustrated, that he had no position, he can't say anything. And he was just crying. Basically, his criticism was just crying. It was just a need, and crying to be recognized in some way. So, if you see that when someone's criticizing, if you understand that, you might be able to say, can we talk? What's wrong? How can I help you? In other words, you don't say, you shouldn't criticize, it's bad. If you want to talk, tell me what's bothering you. Because generally, if someone's criticizing like that, something's bothering them. And now the trick is, and this is difficult, if you listen to them, you're going to have to listen to all the criticism. And Shastra says you shouldn't. But in some cases, or many, maybe all cases, that's one of the best ways for them to process, is to talk. But it's not always easy to listen. So you have to be careful, because they may be criticizing your guru, they may be criticizing Prabhupada, they may be criticizing your best friend. That's like difficult to listen to. But often they need that. Prabhupada told me a story once. There was a very frustrated congregational member, and he was expressing this frustration, and Braja Bihari listened to him. He didn't say anything, he just listened. And this person said, you are the first devotee that ever listened to me, because the natural gut reaction is, this is criticism. I don't want to hear it, and if you're going to criticize, then don't come back. But sometimes people need to express their frustration. So it's kind of like a fine line. But if you can see the crying behind the criticism, then you kind of don't really hear the criticism. You just feel their pain, and then you can listen, because you feel like, oh, well, maybe I can help them, and I see their suffering. So Not always easy, but that's what I did with this devotee. It didn't bother me. And I've also seen that some have another story. I have two other stories. They're exactly the same. I was staying at a godbrother's house, and we worked together. When was it? 1975. We worked together. And so, we also worked together in 1981, 82. And then I probably saw him like 7 years ago, and that was like the first time since, I don't know, the late 80s. But we were very close. And he was not in a good state. And he was just like criticizing nonstop everybody. I didn't say anything, I just listened. And it was just going on day after day. And at one point, he just stopped and he said, I'm just not Krishna conscious, I need to get my act together. That was what he realized by that, right? And the exact same thing happened. I was with another devotee, we were working together, and he just on and on and on, criticizing this one devotee. And I had recently taken a course, or a refresher course in empathic listening, so I was really not saying anything. It's like, yeah, sounds bad. And I knew what he was saying was total trash, it wasn't true. And the next morning, he said, I shouldn't speak bad about this devotee. He's a nice devotee. It's just I'm envious. Yeah. By letting him talk, that's the conclusion he came to. So I can't say everybody's going to come to that conclusion. For some people, I don't think they ever will. The more they criticize, the more they'll criticize. But if they don't have the Ramacandra Shakti, then if you let them talk, often they'll realize what's going on internally within them. Because I think any person who's in any way connected with themselves knows when they're very negative towards other people, they're dissatisfied with something in their own life. And they're just taking it out. Like when you're angry, everyone who walks in front of you is going to get yelled at. It doesn't matter what they do. Right? So it's something like that. And it's interesting because, normally if someone's criticizing, we'll say it's a spiritual defect, but there may be so many other reasons, of frustration, that could be low self-esteem, I don't like. Makes me feel bad that people are better than me, I need to pull them down, there may be other reasons. Did you have your hand up? Yeah.
I was just thinking, something I've been thinking about a lot lately is being a good friend to a devotee. You sometimes do that, right, where you just let them speak it out. But I'm obviously not at an advanced position enough to do that without being swayed by it, because what I've noticed now is that, say, whatever devotee they were criticizing, when I see them, the next time, the first thing I think about is that. So how do we then, redirect that back?
Well, oh, really? What should we do? Announce it? Kadambakana Swami just left his body. So what would you like to do? I think we'll have a little kirtan and then we can come back. Okay. Hare Krishna. Kadambakana Swami ki jai. Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Jai Guru Prabhupada ki jai, Kadamakanana Maharaj ki jai, Premanandi. Hare Krishna. My condolences to all the disciples of Maharaj, and if there's anything I can do to help you, please don't hesitate to ask. And the disappearance of the spiritual master is painful, for sure. And even painful for those who are not disciples, what to speak of disciples. And there's no need in trying to be stoic about it, because that's stupid. Because it is painful, and to deny that it's painful, it's not healthy. And Prabhupada said in the Bhagavatam that when the spiritual master leaves, the disciple should cry. So Prabhupada was not telling us to withhold our emotions in any way. But when the spiritual master goes, the disciple will realize at some point, if not immediately, eventually, that the way he associates now is through the mission, carrying on the mission, becoming, personifying the instructions of the Guru. And never saying that he is gone, never using past tense, because the Guru always lives in his words. So he hasn't gone. He's just externally gone from our vision. The mission remains, the instructions remain, the inspiration remains. It just requires more work on the part of the disciple to access that, because it's not being forced upon them. You have to get it by following and connecting. And those of you who know Maharaj, then you know what he wants, and then if you do what you know he wants you to do, you'll always feel like you're serving him, and you're together, and you're eternal associates, and you're always, therefore, close. So the only real way to be separated from the Guru is to be separated from their instructions. Otherwise, you can never be separated in consciousness. Do you want to say something?
Maharaj came here a number of times, came to Australia many times. While he was in Australia for many years serving, before he went to Vrindavan. And he raised a lot of Lakshmi to build up the movement in Australia in those days as a Grihastha. And then later on, the sannyasi who was coming here a lot to Australia. He's got many disciples in Australia. And so in recent years he was coming more to New Governor. But there was a number of years he wasn't coming so much. In recent years he was coming a lot. And he came here, and we'd have a big program every time he came here, big kirtan. Nearly that house felt like it was about to fall down.
He's definitely a rock star.
He really put up the kirtan dance. Devotees were dancing so wildly. And long kirtans and long classes to give. And very ecstatic.
We were doing a kirtan mela. I think it was in Mauritius, and he had this melody. I forget how it goes. It's kind of like a rock melody. He would always sing it. Do you know that melody?
So many.
So there's one that definitely sounds like nobody. He was the only one who ever sang it. I mean, if you're into rock and roll, you would recognize it as rock and roll. So, he did that kirtan, and then he said to me, he says, I try to do the classical thing, but it's not in my blood, and this is what comes out of me when I sing. And I was like, same for me. Exactly. I totally relate.
We can also have, there's a few disciples here, they can speak as well, but Maharaj was definitely very elevated, very so realised in his Krishna consciousness, and very personable too, with all levels of devotees. He always had time for everyone, and he was always there to give you advice on whatever you needed, the day-to-day affairs and pre-aspiration. He was there to give you the perfect answers every time.
And I think next to Mahavishnu Swami, he was the guru most seen on the street in Harinam, wasn't he? Yeah, so. Anyone want to speak?
I was listening to a lecture the other day, and he was saying his legacy that he's leaving is that he wants his disciples to strongly take up the mission, spreading Krishna consciousness, increasing the family of devotees. Like that.
Yeah.
Maybe any of his disciples like to speak?
I personally remember all the Harinams on Service Paradise the most. We relish those members of our family, everyone who came, I'm sure can have a wonderful remembrance of that experience, the energy that he put in. Sometimes he would dance for like 6 hours there and sing at the top of his lungs. So we were all very impressed by that energetic performance. We couldn't keep up. And that always just astounded me at the power of the holy name and the mercy factor, how Maharaj had sort of found a way to channel that and give it to others. Because we all felt electrified by that, didn't we? So that's what I want to think about right now, is just his ecstatic channel and his wonderful service to the holy name.
I heard a story. It's kind of funny. Maybe you can confirm it. He was in Radhadesh, and Bhakti Chiraswami was coming out of Radhadesh. He was coming out of the temple room. So Bhakti Chiraswami is followed by all his disciples. These very high-class people, very cultured, refined. And then Kadamba Swami comes out. Rings, tattoos, dyed hair. That was his followers. Is that true? Pretty much. He was like people's man, down the guru of the common man.
He particularly liked his what's the King's Day in Amsterdam?
King's Day.
I don't know who's gone to that. So you can tell us what it's like. But we have been to Amsterdam on Harinam before, but he loved it because it was like all day, like 10 hours at least. And it was
That was all merged because everybody's orange on King's Day.
Yeah.
So it's like one big Harinam.
And it comes into a bit of a messy street party in the evening. Everyone gets pretty intoxicated. But he kind of relishes that. He somehow can sort of understand their mood of ignorance, and he can relate, and he really gives a lot, and he sort of peps himself up for that, doesn't he? So he really is a people's person.
Jodhwada Swami said he was like Jodhwada Swami said he was like recently he said he was like a dying man full of enthusiasm. He's even up to his last day practically, he's doing kirtan, giving classes. So, he's riddled with cancer for the last year or two. He's still going on programs every day and giving class.
I saw him February, probably 22nd. And I said, how would you like me to serve your disciples or help your disciples? And he spoke for about 20-25 minutes about the Netherlands and the potential and how great the Dutch people are and how he wants me to go there and inspire his disciples, and they're just waiting. So before I came here, I was in discussion with one of his disciples about what we're going to do. So it was a great honor. He gave me that service, but that's not the point. The point is, he was like, he'd been fasting, so he didn't have any energy. And he just went on and on and on, just talking about the preaching there. And he just hit a point and said, I can't talk anymore, I'm too tired. But like whatever energy he had that morning, he used it to describe the Dutch people, the situation, how to preach there, the potential it had, and so forth. Exciting.
I did a VIHE course in Vrindavan. I think it was in '89. Kadama Kana Swami, he was Grihastha, then temple president. And all the feasts were the best prasad ever. I mean, they were just so opulent. And you'd see him going to different kitchens and, keeping up the standard. As a comparison, the next year I was there, I think it was Prabhupada's disappearance day. I mean, it was very crowded. But all the prasad ended up with some burnt dal and Ramacandra Puri. That was it. So
And someone else was in charge.
Someone else was in charge. So he was very particular in making sure the devotees were happy.
You were on to say something?
I can only say that it was really
Some
excellent
of the
today,
other-
and you would look forward to it every year.
And some of the other disciples like to speak. Savannah, just disciples. Sham. I don't know anything to say about your experiences of Vrindavan with Maharaj. It was pretty good.
I might elaborate a funny story. That, last time he was here in the Gold Coast, I think it was the New Year's or just before New Year's, I don't know. And there was just such a crowd, and we were all just in ecstasy. And he was in that rock star, just powering on. We were all just like this. And there was this couple that walked past, this man and a woman, and she was just so attracted by it, and she just ran into the crowd. And he was sort of looking at his phone, and he realised his wife had gone, and he was furious. He was walking around looking, where is she? She's been stolen by the Hare Krishnas. And me and this other devotee, we just looked at each other and just had this laughter, because it was just so infectious, this energy that he had that night, that this random person, his husband lost his wife into it. And we were just, it was powerful.
He was in the Yatra in Australia way back when Rupa would remember the Goldadesh farm. He would remember that. And he used to tell stories of being there. He did a lot of, what would you say, like a lot of service in a lot of areas. People may not realise he was, I don't know how long Rupa was on that farm.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe 5 years.
5 years, yeah. This, Maharaj tells me they had this idea to grow rock melons. And apparently there were rock melons growing out of everywhere, but they were only the one crop, but a massive crop. And then for some reason the distribution channeling or where they sold them wasn't so free, so they had all these rock melons, and every breakfast it was rock melons. Then there was rock melons rotting everywhere all over the place, which gave off a pretty sort of not so nice scent after a while, and so he still remembers that place fondly as for rock melon loco, and he never sort of had an attraction for rock melon later on in his life. He tells some funny stories. He always tells some funny stories. And he was always saying that, no, I couldn't resist when the devotees asked me to do some service, because he was wanted for his management skills. And as he honed them in Vrindavan and other places, Prabhupada Samadhi in Mayapur, etc., he was just asked to do this and that. And he told me, he said, I wish I could say no. Because he was always wanted. He wanted to. And then he would just agree. Recently he did a lot of work in the New York temple. He was going there. He took on the Spanish yatra for a while, which was at a pretty low ebb. He was just always being asked to do, and he said, I don't have the energy for it, but I do it because how can I resist when the Vaishnava asks me to do it? That was his mood, Okay. say something, Kim?
I don't know if anybody knows the details, but Maharaj gave a general overview of a story. He was in a bus with devotees and some hippies. They were travelling from India to Europe, or Europe to India, I can't remember. But they were going through Iran at the time of the revolution.
Before he's a devotee.
He was a devotee.
Oh, he was a devotee.
Yeah. And, but there was hippies on the bus as well, like the overland sort of trail. But they got stopped in Iran and everybody was pulled out in front of a firing squad. And he didn't elaborate, but I don't know if anybody knows.
Apparently he was feigning his death. Somehow he had a plan that if I just fall behind this guy when I shoot, and feign my death. I don't know if anyone can fill it in, but he got away with it.
He did say something about one of the hippies started kicking a soccer ball around and that changed the whole mood, but...
Well, it tells at the end of it, he said you've always got to have a plan. He had to make one very quickly at that point. So he survived some heavy ordeals. And as we know, he had some very heavy ordeals with his health, with other people took aim at him and he was shot. You know, there's many, I would say, many reasons. And he said to me, I've got enough reasons. Some people leave and they think they leave for movement. They think they have a valid reason. He felt that he had a series of valid reasons. He never did.
He was saying the other day, he was speaking to Jagatag Maharaj, he was saying that he escaped the firing squad, he escaped, he was shot, but he lived after that. And he was saying that this time, he wasn't going to escape, but he was going to go. And Jagatag Maharaj was saying, isn't there anything we could do? I was just saying, it's my time, and then days after that he was saying that I want to go now.
I don't know, Mahatma Prabhu, you saw any of his, I don't know if you see, but in the last 3 or 4 months he's been putting out regular meetings, Zoom meetings and programs he's been holding in Vrindavan which have gone live. So,
I heard about them when I went to Vrindavan. I got to Vrindavan a few days before he started fasting. And he had finished his parikramas, and everybody said it was just kind of like nothing was wrong. But I think at the end of the day he would collapse, but when he was out there, he was just going. And then he hit a point where he couldn't go anymore. And then he started fasting. And Jayadvaita Swami told me years ago that when he had prostate cancer, he didn't know if he was going to live. And he said that he was completely detached. He was like, if I don't live, no problem. There was no panic, there was no fear, there was no resistance, there was no denial. So that's how he was now. So I think he started fasting maybe around the 15th of February or 16th or something. No, maybe around the 20th. So he was ready and didn't have to stick around that long. And it's, the passing of Vaishnava is really a celebration because now he's with Krishna. He's not suffering. Of course, we miss him, but look what happened to ISKCON after Prabhupada left. It just kept, it had its hard times, but it kept growing. And Prabhupada, he pushed it, and then the momentum continued. So, when you're trying to spread Krishna consciousness, if people can take that momentum you've given them and run with it, then your mission is a success. And Prabhupada always said, if I could create one pure devotee, I would consider my mission a success, because one pure devotee could deliver the whole planet. So that's just my intuition. With any great Vaishnava who leaves, his satisfaction is that whatever he did is carried on in the hearts of others and can be used. So whatever you got from him, if you carry it and share it, he's still living. That's how he stays alive. I mean, all the Prabhupada disciples are in their 70s or on their way, close on their way, some in the 80s. So this is the time when every Prabhupada disciple leaves, I would suggest that all of you think just a little more responsibility on my shoulder. There's one less. And I have to, there's a vacuum there now. Who's going to fill it, And I just read something. Someone said, some famous writer, author, he said, whenever there's a problem, everybody thinks someone else is going to fix it. But obviously, that's not going to help. So when Prabhupada left, we all felt a vacuum and we all tried to rise to the occasion. So if that's the consequence of a great Vaishnava leaving, then his leaving actually opens up more service. So we can think like that. And we should think like that. We should feel that way. You may know this conversation. One devotee asked Prabhupada about a quote of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, I left this world, my work unfinished. And he said, how is it that it was unfinished? He's a great devotee. How could he unfinish? How could he not finish? And Prabhupada said that was his mercy that he left it to us to finish. Because if he finished, then what service do we have? So, Maharaj did so much and he had so many plans which he was unable to execute. And we can feel the burden and become inspired by the departure. And so many devotees are going to depart, and every time there's another vacuum to be filled. And if I don't do it, who's going to do it? If it's not me, who? So it's not easy, but this is what Prabhupada wants, and this is how we'll be successful. So you can use it as an impetus. It's difficult. Separation is difficult. It's painful. But at the same time, there's another side to it.
Yeah, during the last few months, one of the messages was that he'd like his disciples to sort of step out of their comfort zones from time to time. It's not always easy.
Yes.
We've got the responsibilities, but if we can just try and tap in, do extra or something completely different that will aid the mission and assist others. From time to time, step out, expand ourselves by doing that, and he was hoping we would do that regularly, whenever we could.
Perfect. And then you'll always feel you're with him. I've told this story before, I don't know if all of you know it, but in 1970 Prabhupada came to San Francisco to the Rath Yatra, and it was the largest gathering of devotees. So when Prabhupada walked into the room, there was more devotees walking in the temple. He came to the door of the temple. It was a storefront, so he was on the street, and he was coming in, and the temple was full of devotees, and there had never been that many devotees in one place at one time. And Prabhupada stopped, and he was just looking. And we didn't know why he stopped. Then he came in after a few minutes, and he chanted the Guru Vastika prayers. We didn't know why he was chanting Guru Vastika. It was not normal that he would do that. And then a few hours later, Prabhupada told the devotees, when I first came in and saw all the devotees, I didn't go in because I had called my spiritual master to come and see. So, in other words, when we hear these stories, we have to ask ourselves, so what is going on in Prabhupada's heart? What's going on in his mind? How is he seeing? And I think one thing we can understand is that because his whole reason for being in America was the mission that he was given by Bhaktisiddhanta. And because he's executing the mission, naturally he's always feeling his Guru is with him, because it's not his mission, it's his Guru's mission. So if you're executing the mission of your Guru, you're executing the mission of Prabhupada, you naturally feel they're always with you, seeing. And Prabhupada wrote that, my spiritual master is always seeing what I'm doing. And if he were here today when I finish Chaitanya Charitamrita, it would be a great cause for celebration, but I know he's seeing my activities and he's pleased. So Prabhupada didn't feel that separation. I mean, he did, but he didn't. So you really feel it tangible. And obviously the Guru can't remain physically forever. And you have so many other devotees, so it's good association. And we all have to become good association. Even if you think you can't. We don't have a choice. If the movement's going to go on. And every time somebody leaves, a little more responsibility falls on your shoulders. Who's going to do this, that, and the next thing that he was doing? Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Also, when you listen to Prabhupada or listen to Ramacandra Maharaj, I know with my spiritual master Tamara Krishna Maharaj, when I listen to him, you feel like they're present there.
Right.
Even that lecture was probably 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
You feel like they're right there with you.
Yeah,
You get a lot of solace, like just hearing the instructions, hearing them preach Krishna consciousness.
What also is an interesting experience when your spiritual master leaves and you listen to a lecture and you remember, oh, I was in that lecture. And so you have, they say when somebody leaves, you lament, but another way of looking at it is, well, I have spent so much time with this person. I'm fortunate that I knew them and I had those experiences and those memories. I asked the Kunda Maharaj during the Govinda prayers, I said, it must be strange for you to hear this every day because you composed it and recorded it. He said, yeah, brings back a lot of memories. So you have these memories which they're tangible, they're real, and they keep you going. When I chant Gayatri, for those of you who don't have Gayatri mantra, the two of the mantras are meditation on the Guru. And you may have seen pictures of Prabhupada going into a temple. It's Los Angeles, and he has a basket of flowers. And everyone's giving him flowers, and he's giving everyone flowers. Well, I had the opportunity to be there several times when that happened. So sometimes when I'm chanting Gayatri, and it says, meditate on the Guru who is blissfully engaged in Krishna, I just meditate on that Leela. Because I have that memory. It's in there. So it's like, these memories you can cherish, and they're as real today as they were then, and as powerful then. Maybe even more powerful now. So even though they go, you have these experiences. And you have these deep realizations that you got from being with the person or hearing them. So even though they're gone, you're happy that you had that. And it's there with you forever. So what would you like? Well, if I never met this person, I wouldn't be unhappy that they're gone, right? So was that what you would like? That I never met them? I don't think so. And it's a price you pay. You'll have to lose, but you get that inspiration from them by thinking of them. When you do visualization, sometimes they'll say, close your eyes, deep breathing. Visualize you've just bit into a lemon, and you'll look at all the people and they'll be like, if you open your eyes a bit, they have a tangible experience through visualization. So you look at the Prabhupada memories and you see the emotions that devotees have. It's like it just happened yesterday. Those are real experiences, and they're accessing those experiences, and they're accessing the emotions, maybe even different emotions they had, maybe the same emotions, but it's real, and so you have them forever. They're yours. If you care to reflect on them and exploit them, so to speak, utilize them. Because when the Guru goes, that's all you have. You have those memories. That has to keep you alive, those instructions, those memories. And your dedication to his mission, to make his mission successful. And I always felt, what better way to glorify one's Guru is to be an example of what they taught. I can't think of a better way. Like, what could make your Guru more happy than to be what he be? You will know what my Guru taught by looking at me. This is what he taught. Wow. Beautiful. Huh? And what worse way to be is to be the exact opposite of what you want and what you want. Like, it's almost like blasphemy. You don't represent him, you represent the opposite. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. What do we do now? You want me to answer your question? The answer to your question is, if you can't do it, don't do it. Protect yourself first.
Also, we have Maharaj's shoes, so if everyone would like to have Maharaj's shoes on their head, then we can do that as
You're going to beat us with his shoes? Beat sense into us? Okay. Beat the rock and roll Shakti into us? Well, you know that melody? You know the melody I'm talking about? There was a period of time that was like, it's all he chanted.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
No, it's rock.
Krishna, Hare Hare.
No, that's too sweet. This was like maybe 10 years ago. It was like, he was like, every kirtan he'd chant this. Had a low part and a high part. It was not a typical melody.
find it on YouTube.
I mean, I figured it out. One day I was just like, he was always singing this, so I figured it out. It's kind of cool. And we can find it on YouTube, yeah. 10 years, like maybe 10 years ago, he always sang it. Oh, I remember the melody.
Anybody?
Yeah. Too sweet. Find anything close?
That's not the one. That's not the one you're talking about. Surely we can find that one. We can see that one.
Toaster's looking.
I'm not finding it. I think I know. If I hear it, I will know.
That's not it. That's what we just heard.
Wait. What one was? This one.
Gotta go like 10 years ago.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna
Hare
There's one tune, like 10 years ago, 12 years ago. It was like every kirtan he chanted it. It was like his theme song.
Around 2012, 2013, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like every kirtan. It was like every kirtan male or whatever, he would chant that melody. It was kind of like, he made it up. It was like
Yeah, I'm looking at a Radha Deshmukh right now.
Keep going.
Anyway, maybe we should just do kirtan.
This one? It's definitely a distance.
Let's take the beginning. Well, I ended it, huh?
That's what's going on.
Might do this. Maybe we'll just do kirtan. See what happens. It was unique. It didn't sound Vrindavanish, it didn't sound Bengali, it didn't sound like anything anyone else played. It was rock and roll. It was like classic rock and roll. Rock and roll with like a little classical influence.
Yeah.
We'll find it. Anyway, let's do kirtan. You have a table for us?
Table for the harmonium.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. That one. Just lower, with the lower one. can't remember. I figured it out. I never played it. I just figured it out.
Battery's only got 15 now.
It's like, you know,
No.
I haven't heard it. So it's like, you know, we can play a rock and roll. No, we can put it on. Anyway, we'll do some rock and roll that I know. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Sri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, I don't want money, and I don't want fame. I don't want women, I don't want fame, and I don't want money to my name. Life after life, all I want to see is just pure devotion to your lotus feet. I just want pure devotion to your lotus feet. Everybody, I just want pure devotion to your lotus feet. I just want pure devotion to your lotus feet. I don't want money, I don't want women, and I don't want fame, and I don't want money to my name. Life after life, all I want to see is just pure devotion to your lotus feet. I just want pure devotion to your lotus feet. I just want your devotion to your lotus feet. I just want your devotion to your lotus feet. I just want your devotion Lord, see, I just want your devotion to your sovereignty. The Shastakam is what the Mahamantra means. It's all there. You want to hear another one? The best one? You want to hear the best one? Okay. You have to sing with me. I'll tell you when to sing. You can love me. You can break me. You can leave me or embrace me. You can do anything that you want, but you'll always be the Lord of my life. This is your part. You will always be, always be. You will always be the Lord of my life. You will always be, always be. You will always be the Lord of my life. Everyone. You will always be, always be. You will always be the Lord of my life. You can love me, you can break me, you can leave me or embrace me. You can do anything that you want, but you'll always be the Lord of my life. Everyone. You will always be, always be. You will always be the Lord of my life. You will always be, always be. You will always be the Lord of my life. Asmi Shabbat Parvatam Pranashanam Darshanam Amatava Kurutuva Jatatata Yudatulam Pato Nathana Natastu Sevana Paraha. You will always be, always be. You will always be the Lord of my life. You will always be, always be. You will always be the Lord of my life. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, everybody together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Sakam. Oh, you have your guitar here? I'll play another one. Want to hear another one? I need your guitar, okay? Without you, Lord, a moment feels like a million years or more, and tears are flowing from my eyes, just like torrents of rain, just like torrents of rain. You want to try it? Without you, Lord, a moment feels like a million years or more, and tears are flowing from my eyes, just like torrents of rain, just like torrents of rain. Try it. Without you, Lord, a moment feels like a million years or more, and tears are flowing from my eyes, just like torrents of rain, just like torrents of rain. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare This verse will come alive. I just have to remember how to sing. If you could move that out a little bit. This verse comes alive when you play music. I mean, they all come alive, don't they? Perfectly out of tune. Where's it? What's it looking for? Holy name can render blessings on all living beings, and you have hundreds of names like Krishna and Govinda, and the beat changes. Listen to this line. But I'm so unfortunate that I have no taste. Unfortunate that I have no taste. I am so unfortunate that I have no taste. I am so unfortunate that I have no taste. For your holy name. I'm going to try to sing it. Let's see what happens. Your holy name can render blessings on a living beings, and you sing, a living beings. And such, you have hundreds and you have hundreds of names like Krishna and Govinda. But I'm so unfortunate that I have no faith. I'm so unfortunate that I have no place. I am so unfortunate that I have no faith. I am so unfortunate that I have no faith. For your holy name, your holy name. Okay, now we're going to rub it in. We're going to rub it in. I am so unfortunate. I am so unfortunate. Cause I have no taste. I have no taste for your holy name. I'm so unfortunate. Cause I have no taste for your name. I'm so unfortunate. Taste for your name. I'm so unfortunate that I have no taste. So unfortunate that I have no taste. I am so unfortunate that I have no taste. I am that I have no taste. You blew it. Just listen, and then you can play. I'm so unfortunate that I have no taste. Can we do it? 1, 2, 3. And I'm so unfortunate that I have no taste. Fire. The holy name.
Oh, glory.
Bring it alive. Make it happen.